Hey there, my name is Shane Craddock, and this is the Inner Edge podcast, where I share a different take on how to lead and live a sustainable high-performance life. Over the course of different episodes, I'm going to challenge the belief that tension, stress, and struggle are essential to success and creativity. My experience is that there's an easier way, there's a better way, and indeed there's an essential way that we need to explore for the times that we live in. So let's go ahead, let's jump in and explore. Is your mindset still relevant? Are you sure about that? There's a phrase that's commonly used in the coaching world, which goes something like this: what got you here won't get you there. And that's not completely true, though, because if you think about it, if I got here by walking, I can probably get there by walking. So it's all relative, but it does depend. The point, I guess, is particularly in a business context, or if you're looking to do something that you haven't done before, very often you won't get there unless your mind evolves with your purpose, your goal, and with where you're at and where you want to be. So it's a powerful question to ask yourself: is my mindset still relevant to the world that I'm in and to the future that I say I want to create? Now, I'm not talking about growth mindset. I think what I'm talking about goes deeper than that, actually. It's probably underneath that again. And I've seen it time and time again for myself, with clients, with teams, even say in a business context, if you're trying to build the next version of a business, but you're doing it with the mindset of the last chapter of that business. So you can be trying to grow something, but then your thinking isn't kind of going with it. And it is important to check your mindset, especially if you're ambitious with business, with your goals, with your life. I think it's kind of like trying to stream like a high definition 4K movie through a dial-up internet. You know, the vision can be big, but the operating system just can't hold it, can't handle it. So the core point for today's episode is, I think from what I've seen, each level of growth in your life requires a tweak or a new level on your mindset. And critically, actually, in many ways, it's as much about an old mindset holding you back, often unconsciously, as much as it is about having a new mindset to inspire you. So it's not just trying to force in a new mindset. You also have to be aware of the limitations sometimes that are hanging around from an old legacy mindset. Now, over the last kind of couple of weeks, I'm working with leaders, sports people, teams. And something that has, in a conversation with a company looking to, like, they've done really well over the last 5 or 6 years. Now they're looking to scale up very, very fast. They've got capital, they've got funding. They're in a very different position to what they were, even say cash-wise, to even a year ago, 2 years ago. But in discussions with the team, and the CEO was the first to say it, that just realized that actually we need to be careful that I think we're operating with the mindset of a startup and not where we're at now. You know, a year ago, 18 months ago, we didn't have as much cash as we do now. So even right now, I can see that we're actually thinking of doing a lot of work ourselves as opposed to hiring somebody because we have the cash and delegating that work out. And that's a very practical example of how you can hold yourself back without really realizing it, that you're kind of doing the same things today that you were doing a year ago. But actually, if you keep doing that, well, then logically, how can you move forwards? What got you here won't get you there. And you can think about it as well in terms of hustle or speed or even perfectionism. Those kind of attitudes, mindsets can actually be holding you back from what's possible, what's next. And when your circumstances evolve or change, but your thinking doesn't, your mindset doesn't, then friction will appear. And that friction will appear as stress, frustration, overload, overwhelm, and confusion. And then the worst part of that, I think, is that most people don't realize that they're kind of stuck in an old mental version of themselves. They're still running last year's mindset while expecting next year's results. And that logically just isn't going to happen. And this is the power of the mind. This is what excites me about helping people, teams, and organizations in many contexts to wake up to the power of that inner world, the power of that mindset. And just because you did a course on mindset or read a book about mindset, that doesn't mean that you're not going to get caught out with this. I see it all the time. I have to watch it myself, and I can get caught out all the time myself. But I know what I'm looking for, which is a big, big help. I remember being asked by a client to do a fireside chat with a very successful entrepreneur in Ireland, one of the most successful. And I'm not going to say their name. And I asked him as part of that conversation, what was the reason in his mind that a lot of companies don't grow to the level that he was at. Now, I was talking about, well, maybe they don't have the ambition or the hunger. And he was saying that would all be true. But he said what he found was, he said they probably weren't, and he used the word ruthless enough with the core people around them, because what he realized on his journey was the people who got you to 10 million most likely wouldn't be the ones to get you to 100 million. And the people who got you to 100 million wouldn't be most likely to get you to 1 billion. And he said, it's not that they can't do it. Sometimes they will push you the pain barrier to do it. Now, he wouldn't necessarily have known what I'm talking to you about in terms of mindset, but that's what he saw. And it does make sense. Not everybody maybe wants to go on that journey. Not everybody's open to kind of changing the way that they are. But somebody who runs $1 billion or €1 billion company it is a different mindset completely, obviously, to 1 million, 10 million, 100 million. And bringing it right down to a very practical level for somebody working with even a small business or even a small team. You know, I mentioned earlier on about a team not hiring even though they had the budget, but you can bring that into maybe micromanaging people when you should have been delegating something. And again, that's old mindset because you want to have control. Or maybe you're working harder instead of thinking smarter. Again, that's a mindset differentiation. But when you step back, I think it becomes clearer. The problem generally with a lack of momentum in those kind of, or a lack of change, it usually actually isn't skill or even will. It's usually somebody's identity that they've kind of locked into a certain type of mindset as part of their identity. So you might still see yourself as being a scrappy survivor instead of somebody who's a strategic builder. Or maybe you're, thinking of your business at a certain level or your career at a certain level, but actually, what would the future version of you, the next iteration of you, what would their mindset be? And work backwards from that. Can you kind of imprint that back in? In a way, it's a bit like playing an old movie on the projector of your mind. Like the real is outdated, but you keep expecting a different ending. The reality is, if we want to create a different ending, obviously then we have to change the mindset or the movie that's playing. And again, as I said earlier on, I think a big point here is at least being aware that there is a mindset playing in the projector of your mind that's usually from the past. And even if you're aware of that and are willing to look for that, that loosens its hold. So that opens up your mind in a way that has less limitations. So you can think almost like of a phone that hasn't updated its software, and maybe all the apps keep crashing on the phone or the computer, not because the phone is bad, but it's because the operating system is out of date. And in this example, your mindset is your mental operating system, your inner operating system. So if you don't watch that, if you don't upgrade it, well then surely isn't it logical that your future then will be compromised? And I think it applies to everything from what I can see: teams, leaders, sports people, even your family. You can't, I've learned this the hard way, you can't parent a 16-year-old with the mindset that you used to have when they were 5. It just, if you're a parent, you know that. It just doesn't work. And in the same way, you can't lead a 50-person company with the mindset you had at 5 people, or you can't lead a 5-people team at the mindset you had as a 1-person team. Like growth in every context does demand an update, a mental update. So let's bring it back to you. As I often say here, what about you? What movie is playing on the projector of your mind? What is your mindset? Where are you experiencing some frustration? And maybe just be open to looking for, well, hang on, what's my mindset? Even though your mind might go, your inner voice might go, well, yeah, but that's the way it is. No, your mindset kind of usually shows you the way it is or the way it thinks it is. It doesn't mean it's reality. And if you find something in the projector mind, which you will, could you look at it and ask, are you still operating with the same beliefs, the habits, or the fears that once helped you maybe at a certain level, but now maybe they're holding you back? Where could your thinking be out of sync with the future that you say you want to create? Think about the future you want to create. Go into it in your mind and just look and see and ask yourself, well, what's the mindset that I have or we have in that future reality? And then you might get an insight around, well, what would an upgrade look like? A mental upgrade look like in how you see yourself, your life, your team, your business, your potential. If you are interested in checking your mindset, stepping out of old mindset, do consider joining me for a program that I'm running online. You can do it from anywhere in the world. You can do it live with me and get access to myself and like-minded people. We ran it once last year. It's called Limitless. It's going to run over 2 weeks, 3 kind of online sessions in total, about 4.5 hours. It'll be easy. It'll be conversational. It'll be fun. But most of all, it'll be high impact. We ran it last year with a small group, worked really, really well. But I'm going to open it up to more people this year because I know it works. And if you're interested, this could be, I think, priceless time before the end of the year and would have a significant effect, not just on you next year, but I think you beyond that. So the takeaway from today, the link for that, by the way, will be in the show notes, Limitless. And also if you're on my email list, you'll see there'll be information on it too. So the takeaway, I guess, the takeaway is your future can't play through an outdated mindset. It is vital to at least question and look at the movies that run through your head and just ask yourself, is this particular mindset still relevant to the future that I'm creating? And if not, it's time for an upgrade. That's it for this week. Ciao for now.